welcome back to the living room. Before we start and I tell you what we're going to do today, I just want to thank everyone who has subscribed in the last few days. Totally appreciate that. We are now, last count, at 953, so really close to that 1,000 subscriber mark. So after watching this, if you enjoy it, want to see more of my creativeness, I think this is creative, who knows, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and if you enjoy it, like the video as well. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. So today, everything I'm using is from Orchid Supply Store. Orchid Supply Store is a sponsor of the channel here. And if you'd like to get a 12% discount on any order multiple times, any amount, use coupon code TRISH at checkout. It's in the gift certificate coupon code area. You would put that. Free shipping in the United States. So let's start off with the media I'm using today. What this is it's medium Orchiata bark and small Orchiata bark. There are some moss pieces in here because, as I usually do, if I have some mix left over, I just add it to the next mix if it's suitable. The moss is suitable for what we're doing today. I also, in lieu of more moss though, I did put fern tree bark, which looks like this. And I like to take the bigger pieces like this and just kind of break them down. I don't like to leave them as a big solid chunk. But again, all of these supplies you can get from the Orchid Supply Store. I'm also using some of the small perlite, which is kind of my go-to. I like the small as opposed to the medium or the large. The small retains the moisture but not holds on to it so much that it keeps it too wet, especially with the other moisture retentive media I have in there. I am also, this slotted pot, which this Brassovola Nodosa is also from Orchid Supply Store. The materials that are in here are also the same materials as is in here, minus the tree fern. The burlap obviously is not from the Orchid Supply Store. However, Ken got me hooked on burlap because what he does, Ken is the owner of the Orchid Supply Store. What he does is he wraps his mounts in burlap, and I will just show you real quick. Kind of like this. Isn't that the cutest? I have made so many mounts and added burlap to them. It just changes the way that the mount looks. Isn't that gorgeous? It's like making a little burlap pot, really, because you can put a little more media, and then back here I do have some bark and perlite to keep the moss that is underneath there from getting too green. I'm trying to hang this back up. Guys, give me a second. There we go. And then the octagon net pot comes in varying sizes, also Orchid Supply Store. So what the plan is I'm going to take this octagon basket, we're going to line it with burlap, we're going to gently, because I did not water her before I decided to do this, and I'm going to gently squeeze around, and then I'm just going to take her out, place her in, fill her up with this, and give her more space. And the reason I'm doing that is, if you've not seen my previous Saturday strolling videos, but do you see her growth pattern? She is literally all over the place. And heavy on this side growing out, but she is starting to produce some new growth back here. Last time I repotted her was in October of 22, so she's been in the setup about a year. And I really think there's two in here, but we're not separating them today. If I can, I might nip off these back to little small growth. More than likely, I'm just going to leave this thing alone because, one, I didn't bring my fiskars, and two, I'm not trying to loosen all the media that whatever roots she has inside are already there. So I've already pre-cut my burlap. Whoop. I also have mycorrhizal fungi, and a lot of you guys have asked me where I get my mycorrhizal fungi. I just get it on Amazon, no affiliation. And I bought my bag probably, it's been over a year now, and I still have quite a bit left. This is what's left after a year, and I just use this little container and pour a little bit in so that I can use it and I'm not constantly going into the bag. So it does last for a long time, and you need very little of it. I'm also going to add some Osmocote slow release fertilizer. Again, no affiliation. because last time I added fertilizer was in 2022. So let's just get our burlap in here. And all I'm going to do with these outside edges for now is I'm just going to tuck them into the side just so that they are not in the way. So I'm just kind of tucking it up in there. And then once I'm done, I'll make it nice and pretty because I'm all about the aesthetics. My husband calls it anesthesia because he's just weird like that. Let me just level this on the sides a little better. There we go. All right, let's squeeze that up under there. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of the fresh media at the bottom. And the reason I'm using the burlap is to keep the media from falling out of here, but it still allows plenty of airflow. And I have also found that because the burlap also stays wet a little bit, it helps create humidity. It does keep the media damp a little bit longer than usual. And let's just look at her real quick before we take her out of the pot. But do you see all of this fantastic new growth everywhere? And she's just a happy sap, crazy lady right now. Got lots of new growth on this side. There's nothing going on back here. I am still going to place her a little more centered than putting this portion to the back because I'm just afraid that when I do that, guess what's going to happen? We're going to get a new growth. So what I'm doing, instead of squeezing the pot like tightly, I'm taking the pot and just kind of squeezing it off of, like you can see there's roots right here, just kind of making sure that those roots are not attached to the pot. I have to be careful with a lot of these new roots coming in, especially right here. Look at those gorgeous root tips. I have to be real careful with those because I don't want to break those. And let's see if we can do this. Now, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip her like this and let that drop in. Oh, too much. We'll take some out. Now, she's used to being in medium and small bark. There are a couple of large pieces in here. Let's see. How do I hold her in? Like that. I need a little bit more here. There's a big piece right there, but I think that's from the bottom. Let me add my mycorrhizal fungi before I forget. And I usually, for a pot this size, do about half of a quarter teaspoon. I don't know what this is. I think it's like 1/8 maybe. I don't know. I'll also go ahead and add the slow release fertilizer. Put about 20 beads in there, give or take. Didn't count them. I never count them. I just grab a few and judge. A lot of what I do by instinct, not necessarily because that's exactly the way to do it. Now, let's see, she's about centered there. So I'm going to add the media in here, making sure to get it underneath her. And with this, the idea is that she can take off and grow however she wants to grow, because right now she was growing out of that pot, and I don't want to put her in another pot just to have to do this again. So I figure what I can do as well, I'm going to put her back in the same lighting, and then once she establishes herself, maybe in the spring, I might grow her outside this year. Haven't quite decided if I am going to grow orchids outside just because of the freaking grasshoppers. I don't like the way the leaves look after the end of the season because the grasshoppers like to munch on them and use them as breakfast, lunch, and sometimes dinner. And let's see if we bury those. That might not be a bad idea. There we go. And then I'm just, like as if it was in a pot, I'm just kind of moving the media around, jiggling it around, being careful of those brand new roots that we just saw. Making sure I'm not breaking those, because why do this if you're going to break the new roots? And I waited for those new roots to get a little bit longer, even though they're probably not going to start absorbing for a little bit. They will at least, did I break something? No, that was just the sheathing there. Let's see. I am actually going to, I said I wasn't going to, but I am going to set her back a little bit. But where I was going is I'm thinking whether I grow her outside or keep her inside is I may hang her, since she's on this hexagon basket now that does have holes in it. So I may hang her so that she can just do whatever she wants, because a lot of the reason that I'm trying to keep control of her growth, as far as going all over the pot, is currently she's sitting on a shelf. And since I do grow in my living room, I do like to keep a little control of which direction they grow so that it doesn't take up too much shelf space. But if she's hanging up, she can grow whatever direction she wants and however far out she wants, you know? That's the thought. But I haven't committed to it. Let's just say that. I have not committed to it. Just like I've not committed to whether I'm going to grow outside or not this year. If I do, I think it's just going to be probably dendrobiums, and my cucullata did pretty good outside. And I'm thinking that because this is a Brassovola, she'll do fairly decent outside here in Colorado, in case you didn't know that. If you are new, I do grow in primarily organic media. I do have a lot, basically the majority of my summer bloomers are in leca, and it is my thought that because they enjoy a little more moisture than your hybrid Phalaenopsis, that putting them in leca where they have constant access to water will keep them happier, and so far it's worked out for me. I think the only drawback with leca, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, so don't come for me, I just broke a new growth, but that's okay. She's got plenty more where those came from, is the amount of flushing that needs to be done. So if you're like me and you work a full-time job, in my case, I work 14 hours a day. That does include travel time. So I work 12 hours a day, an hour to work, hour back. So I include that in my work schedule time. So I work 14 hours a day. I would not have the time to grow all of my orchids in leca and provide for them the way that you should when you are growing with inorganic, i.e. leca, lava rock, charcoal, that kind of thing, because it does require quite a bit of flushing, especially initially when you are first transitioning your orchid into that setup, to keep the oxygen going. I can't say the big fancy word. But if you do grow in leca primarily and you want a little more information, and someone who does grow, I believe her entire collection, except for maybe some that she's just waiting for the right time to transition, Nina over at Ninja Orchids. She grows in southern Spain. During the growing season, her orchids are primarily outside, and she does grow in leca. And I have learned so much from her with the leca, because I did try it initially when I first started growing in 2019 again. I tried leca, and of course it failed because I missed the flushing aspect of it. I just thought you put it in there and there you go. Because I used to grow houseplants in leca, and that's how I did them, and they did fine. They didn't object to not being flushed as much. Orchids, on the other hand, are a whole different animal. But yeah, she's got quite the video library on pretty much anything leca related, or even just orchid educational videos. She has done a fantastic job on giving us lots of information. Like I said, I've learned a lot from her. My one orchid Phalaenopsis, it's the gold staff. I'll show her to you guys probably in the next Saturday strolling. But she helped me transition her into leca, and then once I got her done, I was like, oh, this is how you do it, once I saw the success with flushing. So now that I've done running my mouth here, let's fix this, and we're gonna just, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of pull it down. I don't know if you can see that. Pull it down, fold it over, kind of make a little twisty twist, and then just tuck it in. And that is easier said than done. And then this way, hopefully that'll kind of lock that in to a position. And don't be afraid to experiment with materials and media. Like, you don't have to just grow in one type of media, everything that you have. You can experiment Always though, when you are experimenting, keep in mind what your growing environment is. My growing environment is in my living room, and because I do use central air and heat, in the summertime I have the AC running, in the wintertime I have the heat running. The ambient temperature stays fairly the same, so I know what I can use in my environment to keep it from either drying out or what I want in order for it to dry out quicker. Well, I think that turned out pretty good. I did end up putting her closer to the back because I decided really there's been no growth since I purchased her in, let's see, when did I purchase her? In 22. I got her in May of 2022, and there's been no growth in the back, so I did move her back a little bit to allow all of this space in the front. And now that she has more media, a lot of those roots hopefully will go back down in there. And I'm hoping that she kind of straightens out because she's kind of going sideways. I'd like her to go this way, but you got to deal with what you got to deal with. Now what I'm going to do is give her a really, really good drenching with just plain water. And the reason I am going to use just plain water for this one is because I just added all of that slow release fertilizer. I think it was like 15, 20 pellets, maybe more, maybe less, around that. And so that fertilizer will get activated because it does activate in around 72, 73 degrees. And my house generally stays around 73 degrees. I love it. I like the way it turned out. It's very cute. It's very, very cute. Guys, again, thank you to all of those who have subscribed. If you would like to subscribe, I would appreciate it. If not, I'm cool with that too. Either way, I'll see you next time.